Very shortly. We are live. Week 5, college football, Smoke Sports, Power Hour. Dante is on fire. What's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Like always, looking forward to another great week. Just want to make a quick announcement. It's my co-host's birthday, so happy birthday, Mr. Ryan Field.
Thank you. If my picks suck this week, which they won't, because obviously you get the good luck of the birthday,
Of course.
but obviously fucking hurricane, birthday, I'm all over the place, so got a lot less show prep than I ever have. And luckily, we kind of know these teams by now, and you're kind of like, it's more of just what you've seen. So we should be fine. Well, I know that you're going to be fine. And if you have to fucking carry again, you will. That's what you do.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, so let's get right into it. Week 4 recap. Good, bad, ugly. Juju, shut the hell up, brother.
Where's Juju?
We couldn't get a time because Mr. Ryan had to go to his birthday dinner, unfortunately. So we're doing the best we can. And there's a great game on tomorrow, so we didn't want to do it tomorrow. We wanted to go over that game. But good, bad, ugly. My good, it's more of a player, but kind of a nice addition to what already was going to be a good group heading into the season. But it's Brew McCoy, Tennessee wide receiver, modern-day high school boy, Southern California boy. Love to see him succeed. He's had a very tough go-about through college. He was at USC. He was like a former top 5 recruit in the nation, was at USC, went to Texas, back to USC, now at Tennessee. Had some off-the-field issues with some things that were out of his control, but it's good to see him bounce back. Had 5 catches for 102 yards last week and a touchdown, I believe. That's another great addition for Tennessee because I like Jalen Hyatt, their slot receiver. Cedric Tillman, we know he's just the cheat code, just a simple mismatch for anyone he faces. So adding another physical receiver who can beat you deep in Brew McCoy is fantastic for Tennessee. They picked up a big win over the weekend, so I'm glad to see him do well.
Yeah, they looked good. For me, it's pretty simple. It's a team that I don't even think we've ever mentioned on this show, either football, basketball, when we do the college show. James Madison, JMU. First year in the conference, first year in
FBS. They were FCS. No, they were FCS a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so shout out to fucking JMU. I think they're now either 4-0 or 3-1, and they're like 4-0 against the spread. They just beat App State, who should have never been laying 7 points in the first place. Just thinking about it now, like this team plays every fucking game to the last play. So it's only right that they went up like 28-7 in this game and then lost 32-28. So my good JMU, fucking showing you that you belong. You're going to start playing your conference a lot more, and this is where you make hay.
Yeah, most definitely. Their quarterback, Todd Sandeo, was at Colorado State for a couple of years, and he always had the tools. Like he's a solid runner, has a pretty strong arm, just like a bad environment for him. And they
fucking Colorado State
obviously paying. Yeah, I mean that move to JMU is obviously paying dividends compared to where at Colorado State last year. It was just a shit show.
Both the Colorado schools are just like unfathomably terrible.
Yeah, no, they've been very bad to start the year. Colorado State, I thought would be a little bit better because they got Nevada's old head coach Jay Norvell, who had NFL experience, did well at Nevada, but they've looked abysmal thus far. So not very good for the state of Colorado. State of Utah is much better at football than Colorado is, always will be. Moving on.
Is that like a secret beef that like the southeast region of the country doesn't know?
When we joined the Pac-12, they tried to make like a fake rivalry between us and Colorado, and nobody really bought it. But now it's just kind of funny because the state of Utah is actually pretty good at football. You know, BYU, Utah, and Utah State were all ranked last year. And Colorado stinks. So might as well throw that out there because people are saying, oh, Colorado's going to get an invite to the Big 12 before Utah is. Colorado's going to get all these invitations to all these other conferences when in reality, there's really no reason for that to be happening. You know, Utah's finished the last 6 of the last 8 years ranked. And one of those years they didn't was the COVID year, which is Fugazi. So put some respect on the boys. Forget about Colorado because they blow. Moving on to the bad, I got Texas. Texas Tech, I liked their coaching staff a lot. They were always a group that I admired. They got some nice talents there, but I didn't think they would win this game. And Texas just kind of crapped the bed, honestly. Leaving it as simple as that. They crapped the bed. Haven't looked good since that game against Alabama where they went toe-to-toe with them. Almost won the game. So my bad is Texas. I mean, this was a team that was unranked and then lost a game and then went into the rankings, and now they're showing they just simply don't belong.
Yeah. It sucks too. Ewers, he played this weekend?
No, he did not actually. They said he was
supposed to.
Yeah, no, he practiced out a brace the week before, and then like Tuesday before the game, I think Sark said he was going to travel and he was going to dress, and he didn't play.
maybe some smoke screens. And I saw a bettor put like $20,000 on Texas to win the fucking national championship
That's ridiculous.
at like a plus 10,000 price or whatever it was, and then
That
like
is
4 hours later, the ticket is just dead. It was already dead when they placed it. I mean, plus
yeah.
10,000.
I mean, personally, I just don't think a Steve Sarkisian team has the makings to make a run like that. Even when I don't think they can even win a conference with him at head coach. Like he's a great offensive mind, and they're always going to be explosive. But when it comes down to the X's and O's, I don't think he's up there with the rest of these other coaches.
Nah, he's a fucking retread coach. Hate that shit. My bad is a team that won, didn't cover, but I just stumbled upon how bad this team actually is and just like how mediocre. And I know that you liked them last year. I'm pretty sure that I remember being a fan of them and thinking they had a bright future. What the fuck is going on with Auburn?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I mean, I wish I could tell you because they got players on their team. You know, that running back duo is lethal. I like
And a good coach.
one of their corners. Apparently, they think he stinks. Like they're
Really?
all fighting for his head. So it's just a kind of a bad situation. They're not really giving him a fair shot. So while they have been bad, it's like you can't just hire a coach and 8 games in be like, no, this isn't the guy. Like let's just start making fun of him nonstop, and the boosters all hate him. It's been a really like toxic environment there. I mean, their quarterback play stinks, obviously, but I thought they'd be a lot better at running the football, given they have Jarquez and Tank Bigsby on that team. And I mean, I thought the defense would be sound. Like I didn't think they'd be fantastic, but I thought it'd be solid. You know, I was surprised to see them give up 41 points at home against Sean Clifford-led Penn State. You know.
Yeah, that should have been the writing on the wall for them. I thought that was like a trap game or like I don't know what. For some reason, I excused that and just thought like it's normal Penn State first 6 weeks, roll everybody, make everybody look like shit. But no, I think it was more of like forthcoming of what was to come for Auburn. I mean, they're squeaking out wins where they should be winning by double digits. They're losing to fucking FCS schools. I don't know, man. There's just something I have to look deeper into it, but just looking at their schedule and their box scores so far, it's like, how the fuck are you guys playing like this?
Yeah, it makes zero sense. I wish I could explain because they're truly too talented to be this bad. You know, San Jose State took them down to the wire, which I thought was kind of a fluke. But then the Penn State game happens, they look bad again, and it's just like nobody really knows.
San Jose State sucks.
Yeah, they're very bad.
Yeah, but either way, and there's teams that are worse. So
easily. I mean, that's how it always is. You're not UConn. You know.
Well, UConn is another. I thought it was a short line this week. Fucking 34 to who are they playing? I don't know. Anytime I see them playing a respectable team and they're not a 40-point dog, I kind of have interest. But then again, it's like teams have no motivation to beat you by 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, with UConn, that was a weird offseason move. They hired Jim Mora, who was UCLA's old head coach from, I want to say, 2012 to 2018.
Yeah.
They came along, and they had some good seasons. Brett Hundley was their quarterback for a while, and he was all right. I mean, Josh Rosen was obviously a first-round pick, so he was able to develop some talent, but I was kind of confused why he took a UConn job because that makes absolutely zero sense. It's
too much pride.
I guess so, because that's just like a situation where you're just bound to disappoint. Moving on to the ugly, though.
Program around.
Yeah. So my ugly, Oklahoma, I hyped them up a lot last week, and they just looked abysmal. Kansas State controlled the clock in that game, and they had the lead for, I think, the entire game. It seemed like, at least. Every time I was at the Utah-Arizona State game, so I wasn't keeping up entirely. But
yeah, they were up early 14-0.
I'm saying, like, every time I checked my phone, it seemed like Kansas State was, like, controlling the lead. And they let Adrian Martinez and Deuce Vaughn both rush for over 100 yards, which just can't be happening. You know that Kansas State's going to try to run the ball. That's their identity with the personnel they have this year. And I think it was just really bad game planning by the coaches and bad execution by the players, and they gave up 41 points. So my ugly is Oklahoma.
Yeah, they couldn't get off the field. And, like, Deuce Vaughn, I feel like that's a household name for college football fans. Like, everybody knows him, but I still feel like he's so underrated.
Yeah, it's simply because he plays for Kansas State. I mean, that's all it is. I remember the COVID season 2020. So funny story. I was taking my SAT in like another state because COVID wasn't letting you take it in California. So we had to like go somewhere else, and it was like a 2-hour drive from whatever airport we were in. So then we're driving back to the airport, and I'm on my phone watching the Kansas State game. And I'm watching. I was like, dude, who the hell is this kid? Because he is an absolute dog. And I mean,
electric.
Yeah, he is electric. 5'6" and can do it all. You know, great receiving back, great running back. So fantastic player in general. They got a dog on their hands at Kansas State.
I guess that's why he's still there, because like when you watch him, he's the best player on their offense.
Yeah, I think he's the best player in the Big 12, honestly. Him and Bijan are 1 and 2 for me.
Who's the best team in the Big 12?
Kansas State was my pick to win it preseason. I was a
Really?
little down on them after the Tulane game, but I mean, they look good again. Their schedule's a little bit tough. They got some away games that could be kind of tricky. I think they got Iowa State on the road, Texas Tech and TCU on the road, who are all pesky teams to play away from home. But I mean, I just love how all around they are. I mean, Adrian can pass a little bit when he has to. Obviously, running is his forte, and running is the team's forte. But in my opinion, they have the best offensive player and defensive player in the nation. I mean, in the conference, along with a formidable head coach. You know, Chris Kleiman made Skylar Thompson look pretty good when he was there, and despite his injury, they were still going 7-5, 8-4 every year. I think he's a great in-game coach. And I mean, like I said, they got Felix on the defensive side of the ball, Deuce on the offensive side of the ball, a well-rounded team with the two best players on both sides of the ball in the conference. I thought they were great value at plus 2,200.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. Well, what are they now? 3-1 with a win over the big brother of the conference?
Yeah, 1-0 in conference play. I think I saw them at plus 500, tied with like Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Texas. I think were the three they were tied with, and Oklahoma State was still like the favorite.
See, you're lucky. You get all those lines, bro. Like once the season starts, being in Florida, like I don't. Oh wait, how the fuck do you get these in-season lines?
Oh no! I just saw it on Twitter. I don't get.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because once the season starts, good game. Yeah. It's over for us.
I think my book offers like in-season Heisman and national championship odds, but other than that, it's all short.
That's it. My ugly, and I'm calling it ugly instead of bad. It was fucking awful. It was very bad. But my ugly is Miami. I think that they're much better than they obviously showed as 25-point favorites, losing by 24 to Middle Tennessee State. But I'm calling it ugly because I know that Van Dyke is better than this, and I know this team has too good of players, just too talented, just athletes. I don't know how the fuck they can be this bad. You go into Texas A&M, very fucking raucous environment. You play not a good game, but it was like the writing was on the wall for that game. You weren't going to be a high-flying offense. You weren't going to score 30 points. The end of the game, you just have to wish that you're down by 7 or less and you have a shot. And that's kind of how the game went. It got a little out of hand at the end, but and then you don't have any receivers right now. You can't tackle anybody. The people that are playing can't catch for shit. And it seems like Mario's time is like he's on the hot seat already, it seems like, after 5 wins.
I don't understand how this guy's still a elite program head coach. You know, he made Justin Herbert look average in college, and he made Anthony Brown look terrible. And Anthony Brown was going crazy in the preseason for the Ravens. I mean, I'm a Tyler Huntley guy. He went to Utah, so I've always been watching Ravens preseason games. Mm-hmm. And Anthony Brown, I was like, damn, like Tyler might not make the roster despite having starting experience the year before, because Anthony Brown looked damn good. And first of all, made him look average, just like he did Justin Herbert. So he's not a good quarterback's coach, and they always seem to pick up these fluke losses. Like at Oregon, I remember they had played like Arizona State, who was a solid team, but I mean, they were 10-1 at the time, like fighting for a college football playoff spot, and they just go out there and get shredded by freshman quarterback Jaden Daniels. And I was just like, they can't get up for these games that they should be getting up for and beating the opponent by 20 plus.
Every year, it's one game on Miami's schedule that just they lose unexplainably, and it just rolls in. It's like Penn State, honestly. It's like Penn State of the ACC.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all I had on it. I just love that fucking Manny Diaz is gone, and even though I hated him so much for what he did to Temple, it's like they didn't even get a fucking upgrade somehow.
Yeah, I mean, and Manny Diaz is doing good things at Penn State, man. I was very questionable up there. I was questionable about their front seven. You know, I love their secondary. I've been vocal about my love for Joey Porter Jr. and that entire secondary in general. They were the second best in the nation behind Iowa, but their front seven's been phenomenal, especially their pass rush. I can't really remember the guys' names, but I think they have like 2 of the top 10 in the nation in win percentage, which is ridiculous given I wasn't very confident in them coming into the season. So they've looked really good, and Manny Diaz is a big part of that.
And that's saying something because they're playing again. Well, not yet, I guess. But I was going to say that's saying something to have 2 of the best defensive ends in the nation in that conference, because you know that you're going up against hogs. It's not like the fucking Pac-12. Well, Pac-12 has some linemen, but you know Big Ten, I think fucking linemen.
But this year for me, Big 12 or Big 10, I think corners. All these teams have
and corners,
ridiculous secondaries. Like, I mean, I've talked about Indiana. Like, Indiana is going to be a 4-8 team at best, probably. And I mean, their cornerback duo is fantastic, and they're one of the probably more average ones in the conference. You know, you got corners like DJ Turner, Joey Porter Jr., Riley Moss, who are just absolute studs. And even at Minnesota, I mean, Justin Wally was a name that I was familiar with, but he's really taken that next step and has become an elite corner.
Speaking of Riley, I know that there's a game before it. But actually, let's get into tomorrow's game.
Tomorrow's game, yeah, so good one. In my opinion, one of the tougher ones to evaluate on the slate because both these teams have things going for them. They're both 4-0. It's a home game for UCLA, but knowing UCLA, they'll be lucky to get 5,000 people there. They're giving away free tickets, not just for students, for literally anyone.
So sad.
That just shows the state of the program. They're pathetic despite being 4-0. Washington, they're going to air it out, man. You know, Michael Penix Jr. is leading the nation in passing yards, and he's not that great under pressure, but Washington's offensive line's been fantastic thus far. Michael Penix Jr. is taking the least time out of any Pac-12 quarterback to get the ball out. I think he's averaging 2.46 seconds to get the ball out, which is just fantastic. It shows his maturity, shows his ability to read defenses before.
He knows what's going on before.
He knows what's going on, man. Exactly. And there was a throw that he made last week, I think it was, and it was just a perfect NFL throw. He got the slot receiver running a wheel route one-on-one, and before he's even gained any sort of separation, I mean, the quarterback still got leverage with him, and the guy hasn't even really made his route yet, and he's just lobbing it up there and throws a dime. Great catch, great throw, and he's been displaying elite maturity, and I think he's an NFL-ready quarterback because he can make any throw on the field when that pocket's clean. Can UCLA get pressure, though, or guard those wide receivers? You know, Jalen McMillan's really good, Giles Jackson, and Jalen Polk, who has really emerged as a good wide receiver. He had like 3 touchdowns against Michigan State. UCLA, though, their pass rush has been lethal. They got 3 guys with a win rate above 19%, but none of them have really done it at like a super high level. They're all transfers from lower level schools. They got the Murphy brothers. They were both at North Texas last year. They combined for over 100 pressures. But with Michael Penix Jr. being able to get the ball out quickly and being able to read defenses, I'm not really sure if they'll play a factor because UCLA secondary just isn't that good. And Washington's receivers have been fantastic thus far. UCLA secondary, they don't have any interceptions on the year. They only have 1 player with multiple pass breakups. And they have 2 guys who are giving up a 100-plus passer rating, and they only returned 1 starter from last year. So a little questionable there. Washington needs to stop the run, though, and that's the biggest key for them in this game, given UCLA has DTR at quarterback, Zach Charbonnet at running back, who are both elite runners. The linebackers for Washington have been good. They both have stop percentages better than 10%, and neither of them are bad tacklers. But my issue here is their defensive tackles have not really brought it. It's mainly been the linebackers and the edge defenders. The defensive tackles have not been that good. And 17 of Zach Charbonnet's 42 carries have been up the middle this season. And on those carries, he's averaging over 9 yards per attempt. So when you're running up the middle and you're playing a team that has bad defensive tackles, that's a huge factor, you know, especially when you have an elite running back like Zach Charbonnet, who's going to be shredding average defenses anyways. Now you're going up against a team that has poor defensive tackle play. I see Washington being able to throw the ball a lot. I see UCLA being able to run the ball a lot. I think it's going to be a close game. Washington edges them out, though. I think they're just too explosive offensively. And like I said, Washington does get some good run defense production from their linebackers and defensive ends, whereas UCLA doesn't really get any production from their secondary whatsoever. I got Washington winning this one 34-31.
Yeah, I put this on my card like the second I saw it because everywhere that I saw online, it was -3. And on my book, it was -2.5. And going into it, I already liked Washington because I think that they're going to be the more slept on team because UCLA, big name, whatever, big school. I feel like they, from public wise, they get that kind of respect. Sometimes
they do, though. I really don't think they do.
But now that they're 4-0, Chip Kelly, I don't know. To me, it just seemed like if I asked 10 people who just casually watch this game, I feel like you would get 7 of them that are saying, "Oh yeah, UCLA at home getting points." I don't know.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, you got Michael Penix Jr. all over Twitter leading the nation in passing yards.
But that's not casual.
That is so casual, bro.
No.
You got Barstool Sportsbook posting Michael Penix Jr. leading the nation in all these categories. Oh, they beat Big Bad Michigan State, all this BS. And at the same time, you're getting all these posts about UCLA not even getting 2,000 fans to show up for their game.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the way I look at it. I think the public would be all over Washington in this game personally.
I haven't seen any numbers, but it was just my assumption. But like you said, like look at who UCLA has played. Take a second.
I mean, I remember this. I said they go 8-4 preseason, and my last words in that article, my 65 teams in 65 days for UCLA, was this team is going to be a lot worse than their record shows because they have such an easy non-conference schedule. It was South Alabama, Alabama State, and
they've played fucking nobodies.
Yeah, they played a bunch of
and like you said.
And I mean, I gotta say, one of those teams, I think it was South Alabama, one of the Alabama schools they played, took them right down to the wire, and they should have won that game. So essentially, what happened was Alabama or whoever it was up by 2 points, and they have the ball with 2 minutes left. They line up to kick a field goal. They're up 2 points, so they kick the field goal. They're up 5 points, and they run a fake field goal.
It wasn't even a
ball back
to UCLA.
It was ridiculous. It was the most ridiculous execution on a play I've ever seen. It was a bonehead call by the coaches, terrible execution, and it lost them the game and made UCLA look way better than they actually are. I mean, sure, 3-1 with a loss against that type of team compared to 4-0 where nobody's even looking at your schedule. They just see 4-0. It's a huge difference. Huge.
100%. And that's what it is to me. Like you mentioned that their defensive backs have been struggling to make plays, to generate turnovers. They haven't played a fucking offense anywhere near as good as this passing wise.
And they won't for the rest of the year, I don't think. I think Washington has a more prolific passing attack than USC does personally. And I mean, you see USC last week?
Hey, you called it though. You called a low-scoring game.
I did.
Yeah, that was a game. See, that's the thing I'm worried about. The UCLA pulls that kind of shit, and they just muck this game up and make it limit possessions, draw out the clock. Like, that's where I could see trouble. But other than that, you're telling me I need to win by a field goal, and I've got a team that hasn't played anybody, and they haven't looked good. Washington's passed the test for me. Michigan State was the first test. Stanford, not as much, but that's,
I thought that game was impressive by them simply because they're coming off that big win, and it's like
exactly
a spot against Stanford, who has a formidable quarterback and good wide receivers who can beat you over the top. And Washington looked dominant once again. So I'm very impressed by the coaching job Kalen DeBoer's done and just the overall team play.
Yep, that's exactly how I see it. But yeah, I laid 2.5 with Washington. Give me, it's not a far travel. I'm not worried about Hurricane fucking Ian, whatever. I should know that, being that it was like 60 miles away. But yeah, I'm not worried about any of that shit. You'll see a lot of games on this card though impacted by that storm.
Yeah, most definitely. Next up, we got Michigan at Iowa. I believe this is the big noon game. My opinion is the sicko game. It's the sicko game of the week. My note for this:
really?
JJ McCarthy was mid last week, bro. Like, I don't think he looked that good. His body language wasn't really there, and he missed some open throws. I just wasn't super impressed by him. And now he's going up against an Iowa team who is exponentially better at defense than Maryland is. Iowa's got playmakers all over the place. And I think in this game, they're going to have to rely on Blake Corum like they did last week. He had over 240 yards, and that's just not going to happen. I mean, Iowa's front seven is as nasty as it gets. You got Jack Campbell, who's an All-American linebacker, arguably the best linebacker in the nation, and his counterpart, Seth Benson. Both of their average step per tackle are less than 3 yards. They're good at stopping the run. And their defensive tackle duo has been extremely impressive, in my opinion. This was a duo that I knew about kind of, but I wasn't really rating them alongside a lot of these other defensive tackle duos that I thought were really good, such as like Florida State or just in general, some of these other teams that I was like, damn, these guys are not getting enough credit for what they do. But Logan Lee and Noah Shannon have been fantastic. They both have 8 stops. And I think it's Noah Shannon who has an average step per tackle of only like 1 yard. So these guys are nasty against the run. They get stops and they come up when it matters. And Michigan offense, I don't think they're really going to be able to get anything. And I don't think Iowa's going to be able to get anything either. But their offense has shaped up a tad bit. I don't want to say they're good or anything because they're not. But I mean, Petras looked good last week. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. He had 80% adjusted completion percentage, averaging over 8.5 yards per attempt. And they finally found their running back one, because that's the big thing with Iowa. It's if they can run the ball, they'll be successful at least within conference play. They'll go 6-3, whatever it might be, kind of contend for their division. And they kind of found their running back one. Caleb Johnson is averaging 6.6 yards per attempt. He's got 174 yards on the year. And Michigan's linebackers, I don't think they're that great. Junior Colson's average step per tackle is 4.5 yards down the field, and his counterpart, Michael Barrett, is 5.5 yards. So these are guys that aren't really making a huge impact in the rushing department. And I think Iowa will be able to run the ball a tad bit against them. And this is a place, Kinnick Stadium, where Jim Harbaugh has never won as Michigan head coach. He's never won there. So
it's hard place to win.
It's where top 5 teams go to die. Jim Harbaugh literally said this is where top 5 teams go to die. And he hit the nail right on the head, because that's exactly what it is. You got the kids waving at the end of the third quarter. This place is going to be popping. I mean, it's true, bro. That would fear me. I'd be like, damn. But I got Iowa winning this game, 13-9, upset. Give me it.
13-9. So yeah, obviously, if you guys haven't fucking realized now, Dante does not take overs or unders. Doesn't take any totals. Nothing. So, but 13-9. That's what, 20 points under the closing line? Or under the total right now?
I don't even know what the total is. I assumed it would be like 38.
The total in this game, Iowa getting 11.5, totals at 42. That's what I saw last. So I definitely lean to the under also, but I like the 11.5. I think you got 11, right?
I got 11, yeah. I put it in on Tuesday.
I like anything over 10. After what Michigan did to this fucking team last year, it was in the championship game, right?
Yeah, they obliterated them. I think it was 42-3.
They fucking destroyed them. Yeah. And Michigan is not impressive. We talked about their offense being possibly very good before they played anybody. And then you play a Maryland team last week who we both agreed their defense, for the most part, ass.
I think they got players, but I think the scheme is a little bit shaky, and just overall they got some more liabilities. Like their linebackers aren't very good, but they got
some pass on them. We thought Michigan would pass on them, and for the most part of the game, for the most part of the game, Michigan was clawing their way back. Like they were down for at least half of the game.
I think it was around that. I know they got that touchdown. The Corn broke off that big run on the 4th down right before halftime. But before that, I mean, Maryland had a lead for the majority of the second quarter, and I think they might have had a lead for a little bit in the third too. But
I just remember them being down and me thinking like, damn, like is Michigan going to lose outright? And then obviously
that was me too. Because me and my buddy were driving down to Arizona, and I was watching. I was like, I felt really good. I was like, these guys look like they came to play, and I thought they were going to win outright for a good amount of time. I was like, the way they're moving the ball, like the way the game has just been kind of like feeling. I really thought they would win that game, but obviously didn't swing our way. But got the 17, cashed the max, blah blah.
Yeah,
blah.
they covered the number. That's all that matters. And like you said, Iowa. Just to wrap up on this game, Iowa's offense is finally looking decent enough to where they don't have to sweat 10 to 7 games. Like if you they will, but it's not where you're playing fucking South Dakota State and you're scoring nothing but safeties. Like they're going to be able to score and give their defense a chance. I mean, you're not betting Iowa because of their offense. You're betting Iowa because you don't think Michigan is going to be able to pass the ball in the secondary. And I agree with you.
I said last week, I touched on Maryland secondary being a little bit more experienced, and I thought that would rattle McCarthy. Like I said, I wasn't really impressed by him last week. He hit a couple like open receivers, and he read the defense well on. I think it was the touchdown to go up 24-13. But other than that, I mean, I thought.
They beat him on the ground.
Yeah, they beat him on the ground exactly. Now you're going against the Iowa team with Riley Moss, who is a white cornerback, so you know he's going to be feisty. He's the only white cornerback who's going to be in the NFL come next year. So.
And the first in a while.
Yeah, exactly. They got dogs all around their secondary, and I think JJ McCarthy's going to be really rattled.
Especially if Iowa can score first in this game, you predict Iowa winning. So I think if Iowa can score first in this game and just kind of put pressure on Michigan, I think that's when you could start to see things crumble.
Yeah, I mean, if Iowa has Michigan pin their back against the wall, that's not a place a freshman quarterback wants to be against a defense like this.
Yep, and in the environment. I totally agree. That's an official play for me. I think I had 11.5. But yeah, I like it. Anything over 10, I'm rolling with.
Awesome. So we both got Iowa on the card. Next up, we got another ranked matchup. A little bit of a sketchy line here. We got Kentucky traveling to Oxford.
Take a little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
little bit. Dude,
yeah, but I mean,
this is a game where the line tells you what's going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen.
Okay, you go first. You like Kentucky.
I love Kentucky here. Actually, that's an overstatement. I don't love Kentucky. They're on the card, but I mean, it's not my favorite play. That's for sure. The question here is, can Kentucky stop the run? Because I don't like Jackson Dart. I didn't like him at USC last year, and they haven't really let him throw the ball too much early on in the season. They haven't played anyone good. They really haven't had to open the playbook up at all. Last week they had a little bit of a scare versus Tulsa, I believe, or Tulane. I think it was Tulsa.
It was actually the best game of the weekend for me on my card. The under 66.5. They scored 52 points in the first half and then 10 points in the second half.
That's really gross.
No, it was a winner.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah. I had the under. Believe it or not, I took an under.
There you go. But so the question here is just, can Kentucky stop the run? I mean, 60% of Ole Miss's plays are running the football. They got some good running backs. Zach Evans, who was a big-time transfer from TCU. He's been good. Keenshawn Judkins, who I wasn't really too familiar with heading into the year. They're both averaging over 6 yards per carry. And Jackson Dart can run a tad bit too, not like super athletic, but he can scramble and make some plays when he has to. But for Kentucky, it's their linebackers, man. DeAndre Square is has an average depth per tackle of just 1.9 yards. Jacquez Jones has a 16.9% stop rate, which is elite for a linebacker. That's honestly unheard of. I know it's still early in the year, but that's still an elite number. And then their defensive tackles have been very good too. Justin Rogers and Deion Rogers both have average depth per tackles under 2 yards. So I just like how they get after it and stop the run. They really emphasize that. And they got good corners on the outside who can play on an island and kind of do their thing. So I think Kentucky loads the box here, sells out against the run, stops the run, and holds Ole Miss to only like 23 points. And then for Kentucky's offense, Kavasier Smoke has been good given the offensive line play, still averaging over 5 yards per carry, and their guards really haven't been good at all. But I think you got to look at the tackles. You see, Ole Miss's pass rush has been unbelievable thus far. They've been extremely good, but the only thing about Ole Miss's pass rush is they get all their production from defensive ends. And if you look at Kentucky's offensive line, it's their tackles who are good. So their defensive tackles, who are the only mismatch in this game, in my opinion, don't really have an advantage because they're just simply not good at pass rushing. Whereas you got guys like Kenneth Horsey on the outside for Kentucky as a tackle who's been very solid this year. And they had another kid, the other tackle, he's a JUCO transfer. He hasn't been fantastic, but he's developing into a solid piece too. So I think they'll be able to limit the Ole Miss pass rush. And the big mismatch for me is Tavion Robinson, the transfer receiver from Virginia Tech, versus Otis Reese. Robinson has caught 87% of his targets so far this year, and he's averaging 12 yards after the catch per reception, which is simply beautiful. He's a yak guy.
Smith numbers.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something you like to see. And Otis Reese has allowed a 126 passer rating when targeted last season, and so far this year he's allowed 63% completion against bad teams. And now he's got to go up against a guy who's caught almost 90% of his targets. I think that's a very obvious mismatch. So I like Kentucky here 28-23. It'll be Mark Stoops is actually 0-10 against division opponents on the road. So there you go. But he gets his first one here against Lane Kiffin, 28-23 Wildcats.
All right. My perspective of this game is not even a breakdown. It's just a story of a young 18 years old, 19 years old me betting first time. Don't know shit. Don't care to know shit. I know sports. I don't know anything about gambling. If this game was that weekend, Kentucky is the fucking lock of a century +7. But what has happened over the 10 years of gambling, you learn that things are too good to be true. Why the hell is this line 7? It opened 1.5. The look-ahead line for this game was 1.5 to Ole Miss at home. Give it to them. That you're telling me on a neutral field, Kentucky is better than Ole Miss, and I'll agree with you there. Why is this line 7? It's not 4.5. If this line was 3.5, Kentucky plus 3.5, they win this game outright. But this line at 7 tells me that Ole Miss is winning this game by double digits. And I hope I'm wrong because I don't have anything on it. But just looking at the line, like this seems like a game where Ole Miss goes down and scores 14 points quick somehow. And then you have Will Levis, who I don't know. I thought like
Dog.
Okay, so you like him. You like him. I came into the season.
Love Will Levis.
He was great because all I've heard is how good he is. And I don't know. When I watch, I don't see like first-round NFL quarterback.
I see a first-round talent for sure. His athleticism and pure release.
What is it with him? Why do I not see it?
I mean, what do you see in Tyler Van Dyke that you don't see in Will Levis? That's what
I
I'm
don't see anything in Tyler Van Dyke this year.
Okay,
nothing.
That's good. But yeah, I mean, Will Levis,
he's like undrafted at this point.
Will Levis, I mean, he's big, he's an athlete, quick release, strong arm. It's all the things you want in an NFL quarterback. And when you have good coaches, I mean, you could develop that and turn him into an all-star. I see a little bit of Josh Allen in him, obviously. I think that's the ceiling for him.
So what's this offense's problem? Is it Stoops? Is it his style of why aren't they running the score up on teams?
Well, they don't want to. I think that's the main thing. There's no reason to for Kentucky.
Yeah. See, something just rubs me off.
Ole Miss beat Tulsa by 8 points last week.
Yeah, that's also why I think this line kind of got inflated. I know
we saw Georgia struggle with Kent State. So, I mean, you just got to take it game by game. And it's like you look at that Florida team. I mean, like I like their secondary, and they didn't really get much on them. They had Dan Key, the freshman, make that big, long catch. Better than that, they really couldn't get anything going on offense. But I like Will Levis. I like what he brings to the tables in terms of intangibles. And I think in the NFL, he's going to be a dog.
Well, I hope that you're right, but this to me just looks like the fishiest line of the weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
It really does. Like, I wish this game was a pick'em so I could, as stupid as this sounds, I wish this game was a pick'em so I could bet Kentucky. And since I'm getting 7 more points than I want, I can't bet them. It just makes no sense. You understand it, but to the people watching, like, if it looks too good to be true, most of the time it is.
The thing last year early in the season, I kind of bought into these like trap lines and none of them paid off. The two that I remember off the top of my head was Wisconsin at neutral site against Notre Dame, and they got like throttled. Everyone in the mom was on Notre Dame. I was on Wisconsin like a bum, and they lost. The other one was Iowa State, who was unranked against Oklahoma State, who was like 4-0. And I didn't think that Oklahoma State was going to be that great last year, and they were solid. They were a little bit better than I expected, but I didn't think they'd be that good. Whereas Iowa State was a team I was higher on than Oklahoma State for sure, and they were getting 7, or they were favored by 7. I bet them -7, and they won the game outright. But it was just like another one of those games where everyone's on the underdog thinking they're going to win outright, and I mean,
Doesn't
they
happen.
covered. I mean, they covered at least. So I mean, I'm done with that. I'm honestly like so over like the whole Sharp thing. It's like I'm gonna stick to what I know. I trust my research. I trust my gut, and I think Kentucky wins this game personally. But
I love that. I love it because I mean, fucking why doubt yourself? Like the Vegas shows you how much they doubt themselves when it comes to college football. The way these lines move, they don't know what the fuck they're doing.
yeah, bro. I mean, I think it's simple. Like I'm subscribed to like PFF, and I look at a little bit of like I don't really look at the grades. I think the grades are kind of stupid because it's human error at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I like the stats they use. But with like the Vegas, I think they really look at like the actual grades, which is ridiculous to me because Minnesota currently is the highest graded PFF team in the nation, and Minnesota is getting 12 points this week. Whereas like last year, I'm trying to think, Wisconsin was a team.
No, Minnesota's laying 12.
That's what I'm. That's what I'm trying to say. But
And that makes no sense either. Are we
last
talking
year,
about that?
last year, Iowa State and Wisconsin were two teams that Vegas thought was going to cover every week, and PFF loved them too, and they still sucked.
Yeah. Real quick on Minnesota laying 12 because it's not on here. Oh, it is. Okay,
We're going to get to that in a bit.
My bad.
Next up, though, we got Oklahoma State at TCU. Sonny Dykes, TCU's new head coach. I don't think he's that great. I don't think he's a Power 5 guy. I think he's a big Group of 5 guy. He had a lot of success there. Whereas at Cal, his only other Power 5 stop, they really struggled, especially against ranked opponents. He was 2-11 against ranked opponents at Cal. One of the wins was in 2015, I believe, against Texas, who ended up going 5-7 that year. So you can only take that with a grain of salt. The other one was, I remember that game very vividly, actually. It was against Utah, and we got stuffed on the goal line on 4th down with a second left. So that was embarrassing. That was Sonny Dykes' only real win at Cal, in my opinion. But TCU has yet to play like a formidable defense, and Max Duggan isn't a guy who's going to beat you with his legs like Adrian Martinez did. And I like the corners that Oklahoma has. DJ Graham and Woody Washington have been very good this year. Washington's allowing a 77 passer rating, allowed a 53 passer rating in 2020, so he's been good for a while. And DJ Graham's only been targeted twice on 56 coverage snaps. So nobody wants to throw out this guy for good reason. He's been solid this year, and Woody Washington, when targeted, is a dog. Their linebackers match up well against the TCU slot guys. I like Stutzman a lot. He showed a lot of promise against Nebraska. He's solid in coverage. He's only allowed a passer rating of 86 thus far, which is good for a linebacker. And Oklahoma's offense, I think they match up pretty well. The only guy on TCU's defense I really rate is their corner, Travius Hodges, who's like 5'8", yet every snap he's playing press coverage. So a big balls guy, and he's been performing at a high level. But I think in this game, a little bit outclassed. Theo Weiss is a guy who can go up and get contested catches, and Marvin Mims is a fantastic all-around receiver. So I simply just think TCU is a little bit outclassed here. I think Oklahoma covers the 6.5. TCU's been a team I was down on to start the year. They've looked good, but I mean, I'm still like waiting to see something from them. I think Oklahoma wins this game by 17 points, 41-24, and Oklahoma is a money line parlay piece with another team that we'll get to later.
Okay, so Oklahoma is on the official card. To me, this just seems like a bad spot for TCU. Like, I know you're home, but like
it's a horrible spot.
You don't want this version of Oklahoma who's fucking aggravated.
Brent Venables he's a motivating coach. Like he'll get fired up, and I mean, after last week, they'll come out firing, I think.
Yeah, especially because they were so close last week to just making it a game, and every time that they had the opportunity, they fucking fumbled it. Not literally, but like they dropped the bag.
100%.
So I don't know. I just hate this spot. I didn't even get into this game because I know I'm not betting it. That line is telling me that is begging you to take Oklahoma, but I think that I don't see how TCU can either hold Oklahoma's offense down or run with them.
They can. The only guy on Oklahoma's TCU's like receiving corps that people seem to think was going to be really good this year, who I like his talent, but he hasn't really performed at all this year. It's Quentin Johnson. He's 6'4" and got good speed. He'll be an NFL player, but so far this year he's been very underwhelming.
Yeah, and this isn't the TCU offense of like 10 years ago where like there's just athletes everywhere and they're going to score 40 points.
They're going to throw the ball. Like that's just what Sonny Dykes does, but at a high level, I don't think so, especially against a defense that's got some playmakers.
And Duggan, he's still there?
Yeah, bro. He was the backup to start the year though, actually. Some Oklahoma transfer, I think it was starting over him, and then Duggan got the job back and has been good so far, but they haven't really played anyone that great. I mean, SMU's defense isn't very respectable, and they played Colorado, who stinks too. So
yeah, Colorado scored. I think
Colorado, their offense couldn't score against them.
No, I'm saying Colorado did score. Like anytime that Colorado scores more than 7 points against you, it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because that's the worst offense in the country.
It is. It really is.
It's
really,
them or
really
Hawaii,
is.
but like either way, I don't know. I think they scored like 10 or 13, and I was just like, well, that's
The
awful.
final score is 37-13. Don't call
Yeah,
me.
I saw
It was bad.
Yeah, but I mean, Duggan was throwing fucking passes to Jalen Rager at his feet, so he's been there for fucking ever.
He has been there for a long time. Next, we got Purdue at Minnesota. It's a total clash of styles here. Minnesota, 65% of the time they're running the football. Purdue, on the other hand, 65% of the time they're throwing the football. So big clash of styles. Purdue passing attack versus the Minnesota secondary is the big one to look at for Purdue's offense because that's just all they do. And Tyler Nubin's one of the best cover safeties in the nation. I think he allowed the lowest passer rating when targeted out of all safeties last year. I don't know if that's exactly true, but I know his number was really low and he was among the nation's elite. And like I said, I touched on Justin Wally earlier as a star cornerback in the making. He'll have to guard Charlie Jones, who has been the best receiver in the nation up to this point. And I think he has what it takes to limit him. But I mean, Charlie Jones will still ball out because that's what he's been doing. He's been looking like Cooper Kupp, man. I mean, he's a small slot receiver who's able to make contested catches. So he's got all the makings of an NFL guy. But Justin Wally is a lockdown slot corner. So I expect him to have a good game against the elite receiver and Charlie Moore. And then Terrell Smith on the outside has looked fantastic. He's only allowed 1 catch on 5 targets thus far, and he's played most of their snaps. So that's very impressive. And then it's Minnesota's run defense Minnesota's rushing attack versus Purdue's run defense. Purdue's run defense has been outstanding thus far. They played 2 elite running backs. So sure, it was Nicholas Singleton's first career game, but they still limited him to only 31 yards on 10 carries. And they played Sean Tucker, who has been just absolutely obliterating teams over the last 2 years, and Purdue stifled him to only 42 yards and 18 carries. So they've looked very good against the run, and they got some solid guys. Branson Dean and Lawrence Johnson are another underrated defensive tackle duo. They both have 5+ stops, which is impressive early in the season. And their linebacker Kieran Douglas is a solid piece. Defensive end Jack Sullivan. These are all guys that are decent, that are solid against the run and formidable, which is what you like to see. And obviously they've done it against good teams so far this year. And the guy that to really look at is their safety, Sanusi Kane. In my opinion, Cole Bishop, Utah's safety, is probably the best run defending safety in the nation, but this guy is probably a close second. He's got 10 stops on the year, and his average depth per tackle is only 3.7 yards when he's usually playing 12 yards off the line of scrimmage. So that's awesome. That's fantastic. And when you're going up against a team like Minnesota, who's got a plethora of running backs who can do it all, your players are probably going to get a bit fatigued. So there's going to be a lot of emphasis on him this game to make those stops, which he can do, and he's proven it. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think both defenses match up well against the other team's offense, but I still think Minnesota gets a W at the end of the day, 27-17.
Yeah, see, correct me if I'm wrong. O'Connell is hurt.
Oh, I don't know.
Dude, he has a broken rib.
Oh.
And at least when I was looking, like the first thing I saw when I looked at this game was that, because this game opened 7.5 to Minnesota. I know they've been impressive, but 5 points. Now it's 12.
That's wild. I didn't realize it opened. I thought it opened at 10, personally. That's what I saw.
I see 7.5. That's what I wrote down. So I look at it. I'm like, okay, what's going on? I know Minnesota's probably getting hyped because obviously they've been beating the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
But this isn't like Minnesota. They haven't had a sweat. They have dominated every second of every game that they've been in. And yeah, you let up your foot off the gas, just natural. You're not opening the whole playbook to go up 4 scores. But so I'm looking, and then I see O'Connell, broken rib, played in the game, but that doesn't fucking heal. Like, he still has a broken rib. So, I mean, it explains the line movement, but to me, I'm just like, this is a team that want, like you said, they want to air the ball out, and you're telling me that their quarterback is hurt? You're not going to run the ball on Minnesota. Like, where are you resulting to? Like that's why I also like the under. I'm not going to lay 12 with Minnesota. I think I did put them in the tees.
They're a team I would never lay 12 with.
Yeah,
that's just a team I would never do that with.
But this seems like a different Minnesota team. Like, I feel you.
They look like it so far.
But, I mean, this is where we'll start to find out what they are. But, yeah, I was looking at it, and he has a broken rib. Like, that doesn't heal. So
that's wild.
And if he's playing, like, salute to him, but there comes a point where he could be doing them a disservice by being so fucking tough. You know?
Most definitely. I mean, we saw it with Matthew Stafford in week 1.
Yeah, right.
So,
fucking noodle arm.
Yeah, that was bad. Next up, we got the Pac-12 matchup. My boys, Utah, taking on Oregon State, who went toe-to-toe with USC last week. They were one offensive line push away on a 4th and 6 to upsetting the Trojans and limiting them to 10 points. So, obviously, they came to play. Their secondary is one of my favorite units in the Pac-12. I thought they were very underrated heading into the year. So far, they've been fantastic, and they've been doing it all without their best player in the secondary. One of their safeties, Alton Julian, still hasn't come back from an injury. I don't really know what's up with that, but He's a dog when he's on the field. I don't think he's going to play this weekend. So the bottom line here is Oregon State's front seven simply just isn't very good. The last 3 games, Oregon State has let the opposing running back run for at least 5.8 yards per carry and has had over 120 yards. Now you're going up against a Utah team who has 4 different guys so far who have rushed for over 125 yards. The team's averaging 5.7 yards per carry. So kind of a mismatch in that point. Not even kind of it. It's a mismatch. I think Utah's going to be able to run the ball a ton against Oregon State. Travis Dye had a lot of success last week, had 133 yards and 7 yards per carry.
They didn't feed him enough.
Yeah, no, they really didn't. That first half, I was very confused because I was looking at the stats. I was like, give Travis Dye the ball because Caleb is not bringing anything to the table here. Regardless, though, yeah, no, he was bad. He was really bad. And that's what I was kind of worried about. He looked bad on the sidelines. I don't really think him and Lincoln are getting along super well, like a lot of people thought they would because they just went to the same school together last year. He's kind of reminded me of a mix of Spencer Rattler and Malik Henry from Last Chance U. I don't know if you saw the show, but
yeah.
I don't know. Just his persona and demeanor hasn't really been too enticing for me.
Yeah, it's not good.
For Oregon State, though, they run a lot of play action. 35% of their passes are play action. They got good receivers, but Utah secondary has been lights out. Absolutely lights out. I love our outside cornerbacks, and the safeties have really stepped up. Safeties have been fantastic. And the starters haven't given up a passing touchdown this far. Both the touchdowns we go up through the air were garbage time touchdowns against a true freshman linebacker last week in the fourth quarter, and the week before that it was a backup corner who gave up a touchdown. So our starting secondary players haven't given up a touchdown yet. I don't think Oregon State's going to find a ton of success on the ground because our linebackers have looked ridiculous so far. So I think Utah's got a clear path to points. I think Oregon State keeps it close to the first half, but then after Utah fully establishes the run, opens up the play action passing a little bit, I think Oregon State's a little bit screwed here. I got Utah winning this game 30-20.
See, that scares me because I want to fucking lay 10.5.
Oh, and another interesting thing, Oregon State is they went 1-5 on the road last year. So that's just another tidbit.
Yeah, it's gross. I want to lay 10.5, and Utah better than the back of your hand.
I think we can cover this game. I just don't like to hype up my team too much. Oregon State's a respectable opponent.
I know that you do that, and it's cost me at least 3 units because every week since Florida, I want to bet this team, and I'm just like, all right.
The only game that I really felt like we were going to cover in, and we did, was San Diego State. I was extremely confident that we were going to absolutely demolish them, and we did. We beat them by 4 touchdowns. So that was the only game I was really confident. The other ones I was like, we're laying 40 points against Southern Utah. There's no reason to be betting that spread in the first place. And last week was just a weird spot. We traditionally don't do well against Arizona State, whereas Oregon State's a team that we've lost to 2013 twice or 3 times since we joined the conference.
Yeah, to me, it's pretty simple. This is a spot where it just screams Utah. 10.5 point favorite. It got through 10, which is bigger than most numbers, the football numbers. So anytime you go from 9.5 to 10.5, it's not a 1 point move. It's 1.5 really. And this is a team that just had a fucking kick in the nuts last week. You have every chance to win that game, and you lose on the final drive.
Well, they went up with 2 minutes left, and then that push, dude. I don't know if you saw it, but that 4th and 6, Caleb stuffed 3 yards before the first down, and the 2 offensive linemen just come up and push him. I was like, that was sweet. That was just pure football move, and I love to see the team effort. But Oregon State was right there, and they should have won the game.
Yeah, exactly. So you come from that, and that's probably in their eyes maybe a bigger game, and then you have this game right on the heels of it.
Yeah.
That's just a brutal spot. And Utah is clicking on all cylinders. Yeah, Florida game happened. We can't erase that, but this team looks better every week. They're going to get whatever they want on the ground. And then if they have to throw the ball, Rising looks better every week.
Yeah, dude, he looked awesome last week. And I was very skeptical after week 1 because he just I said it I was on a Utah podcast the other day, and I said the Florida game, we just looked tense. We just looked like we weren't playing.
Too much pressure.
Yes, we just couldn't handle it. From the second I stepped in that stadium, I was like, dude, our back is against the wall from the first snap. We forced a fumble on the first drive, and I was still like, this feels like it's Florida's game. Yeah. And since then, our defense in general is very young. Our linebackers, one's a sophomore and one's a true freshman, and our safeties, one of them is a true sophomore. The other one, it's his first year starting. And every week they've just gotten better, and they're learning the defense more and more each week, and it's just looked fantastic.
Yeah, and with Utah's coaching staff, at least from the top, of the staff, like this is a team you can count on to just get better throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, our linebackers coach is going to be a defensive coordinator somewhere else within the next 3 years because our defensive coordinator currently is a beast and nobody's replacing him. But our linebackers coach has put plenty of guys in the league. I mean, Devin Lloyd was a 2-star recruit. He's defensive rookie of the month.
He's got a rough week coming.
I don't know about that, but
yeah, he's got to meet Jason Kelsey, baby. Pulling through the gap, blown up. Eagles up by 30. I love Devin Lloyd, though. I love Lloyd.
Yeah, no, he's sweet. He's sweet. Next up, we got Texas Tech at Kansas State, the battle of the Giant Slayers. Texas Tech coming off a big win against Texas. Kansas State obviously beat Oklahoma. So you got two teams that are showing that the future Big 12 can hang with the big boys, even though Oklahoma and Texas are ruining college football by going to the SEC. Is what it is. Kansas State, Texas Tech, two programs on the rise. Love what they did last week. Texas Tech's front seven versus Kansas State's rushing attack. Texas Tech has been really good stopping the run. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They had one kind of sloppy performance last week against Bijan, who had over 100 yards and averaged like 6.5 yards per carry, I believe. But they've been looking very good. Tyree Wilson has a 15.5 stop percentage. Keyshawn Merriweather has a 12.2 stop percentage. These are guys that are game wreckers basically on their front seven. But this Kansas State rushing attack is just too much, man. It's way too much. I mean, Texas Tech hasn't faced a quarterback who can run the ball like Adrian Martinez. They haven't faced a quarterback who can really run like at any level. Clayton Tune isn't a running quarterback. He's a pure pocket guy. Hudson Card is a little bit more explosive, but still, like, I wouldn't really put him on that level. So with them facing a dynamic rushing attack like Kansas State's, I think it's just going to be too much for them to overcome. So I like Kansas State to win this game right around the number, though, maybe between like 7 and 10 points. I got 31-24 Kansas State.
Yeah, Kansas State just has Texas Tech's number. They've beat them at least five times in a row. They've covered all 5 times. There's something that, that's all that I've looked at. I'm not looking back to 2017. But yeah, I mean, like that, like when you have that in your head going into a game, you're already up. You're up at least a field goal when you know that you have just dominated. Everybody that's on this team for Kansas State has beaten Texas Tech. If not, they're a freshman. They've never lost to them. Nobody on this team has lost to Texas Tech, and they see them every year. Yeah. So, the only thing that you could get here, but it could go both ways, is the letdown spot. So I don't know. For me, I thought the line was good. It just seems like a game where Kansas State kind of wins, not comfortably, but it's also not like
they do enough type of thing.
Yeah, it's not like a last drive type of game. Like they're up 13 or 10 in the fourth quarter, and it never becomes a 3-point game.
Kind of how that game was for Texas Tech a couple of weeks ago against NC State.
Yeah. Similar
to that. But I think to look at, I think you always got to look at Texas Tech's offensive line. They're awful. They are terrible. One of their offensive linemen, Caleb Rogers, has allowed 7 sacks through 4 games. So I don't know what the hell is going on with that. And Kansas State has the best pass rusher in the conference with Felix. Led the conference in sacks last year, in my opinion, the best defensive player in the conference. So huge mismatch with him, just him going up against Texas Tech's offensive line. He hasn't really performed super well as far. He's been solid, but I think this game you could book him for 3 sacks.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like Kansas State gets him at arm's length and keeps him there. I need to interrupt this because I believe you have action on this also. The Dolphins.
I don't.
No?
I meant to put in a player. So here's the thing. My book doesn't do like player prop parlays, and I wanted to throw like $20 on like a Chase Edmonds, Jamar Chase, like every prop in the book, like 20 to win 500.
Oh yeah, you were all over that.
Whatever it might be, but I think it was like I thought the game started at 6:20, started at 6:15, so like 6 o'clock rolls around, and Bovada like couldn't place the bet, so I don't have anything in this game.
Well, just to update you, Tua has taken another sack where back of his head hits the ground and he just completely froze up.
Oh no!
Literally like this on the ground. So
what's the score?
I thought it was 7-6. I'm not sure. It's a commercial now. I've got it on the other side of the screen, but I keep clicking on us because I'm like, when I look at myself and I'm looking this way while you're talking, I'm like, wait, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, I feel that.
But yeah, that's what happens when you fucking don't write down all this shit and have it in front of you. So don't be like me. But yeah, Tua. Probably stupid on the Dolphins' part. Obviously, last week he was rocked, and they put him back in the game because if you declare him out for that game, he's automatically out 5 days. So he misses that game and this game. So, but yeah, scary stuff. He's like
Yeah.
fucking frozen on the ground right now.
That's brutal. Next
Yeah.
up, we got a SEC matchup, ranked matchup again. Alabama at Arkansas. Arkansas coming off a fluke loss, in my opinion. They missed like a 30-yard field goal to win the game. And I don't know if you saw that pick six Texas A&M had, but that was the play of the week. Did you
But
see
did they cover?
it? They pushed.
They pushed. Okay. That works because that was a trap of all traps.
Yeah, and I got out of the trap safe and sound. But the thing for me here, it's just Arkansas's rushing attack. That's what you got to look at every time you bet them, every time you play them, because they're a team that likes to establish the run to open up deep passes. Alabama's run D, they made Bijan Robinson a non-factor. If you can make him a non-factor, you can make anyone a non-factor. He had 21 carries and only 57 yards, and their linebackers are playing absolutely out of their minds. Jalen Moody was a guy I liked a lot coming into the year. He's been awesome. But the real storyline here is Henry To'oTo'o, because this guy's been the liability on Alabama's defense ever since he was on their team. You know, like they've always been 10 guys solid, and then just like him sort of thing. Exactly. But he's been ridiculous. His average upper tackle is only 0.4 yards past the line of scrimmage. He's got an above 13% stop rate. He was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, and it's good to see him like finally live up to his billing, because he's been pretty bad over the course of his career. So with him doing well, and obviously Jalen Moody being there, I don't see Arkansas running the ball, and they're both sound tacklers, and Arkansas's got physical runners, Raheem Sanders, KJ Jefferson. I don't see them getting much on the ground. And with Arkansas's receivers, they're long guys. You know, Jaden Hasselwood's a lengthy receiver, contested catch guy. And so is Trey Knox, their tight end, who can play anywhere. He plays from the slot, plays out wide. He does everything for them. But another guy who's a big guy who comes down with contested catches. And Alabama's got extremely physical players in their secondary. You know, Jordan Battle's a guy who, if you're running across the middle, like I'd be scared out of my mind to run a drag route against Alabama just because of this guy. And then you got the corners, Kool-Aid McKinstry. Yes, that's his real name. He's forced 4 incompletions this year, and he's a lot of completion percentages, 47%. He's a long corner, plays physical, so that doesn't really benefit Arkansas whatsoever. And Eli Ricks, he needs to be on the field more, man. I don't understand how this guy isn't on the field for every down for Alabama, because he is an absolute stud. He was great at LSU, transferred in, and a lot of people still have him as the number 1 cornerback in next draft class. I don't have him that high, but I think he's a stud, and he needs to be on the field more. And this is the game where I think he firmly breaks out, because he's another guy. He's a more of a buff corner, really physical, similar to Kool-Aid. And when you're going up against a team like this that likes to come down with those contested catches, you got to be physical. You got to be physical at the line of scrimmage. You got to get him off guard. And I think that's exactly what Eli Ricks is going to do here. And I think they have a really good game all around defensively. And then on offense, I mean, I think the addition of Tyler Harrell coming back, and you mix him with the speed of Jermaine Burton, it's going to be a lot for Arkansas to handle, because their safeties have both been terrible. They're both giving up passer ratings above 110 when targeted. And when you got Tyler Harrell, Alabama debut, big day for him. This is a guy who runs a 4.2. He was solid at Louisville, never really had a real breakout season. I think his best season was like 500 yards, but he runs a 4.2. That's all you got to know. And Jermaine Burton, another guy, a fantastic deep threat, very fast. I think Bryce is going to just absolutely air it out this game, and it's going to be way too much for Arkansas to handle. I think Alabama absolutely crushes them. And I mean, I'm laying the 17 here with Alabama. I think they win this game by 31, 48-17.
Yeah, this game's easy for me. I don't think Arkansas stands a chance, but when it comes to Alabama, the only time I get involved in their games is if they're getting points. I'm not ever looking to fade Alabama, and I also don't want to lay. You know, I don't want to be up by 21 with 2 minutes left and have my balls in my ass. Like,
Definitely.
It's just a shitty feeling. If I was to bet Alabama here, it would definitely be first half. You know, Saban wants to get out hot, close the playbook, keep it vanilla. But yeah, I don't know. The Arkansas doesn't have the dogs to run. They don't have the horses for this race.
Yeah, and their best safety was Joe Catalon, who went down in week 1. He was like their only guy on out of their safety group that I really thought would be a great player. Latavius Brini, the transfer from Georgia, hasn't really been that great. And the other guy, I mean, like I said, they're both giving up terrible passer ratings, and you're going against a team that has Jermaine Burton and a guy who runs a 4.2. So it's just going to be I think it's just a terrible matchup for them.
Yeah, what did you have the score at? I want to see if you're close to the total.
48-17.
65.5.
I'm right on it.
Yeah. Am I looking at this right?
It was 65.5. I mean, I have 65.
Oh, it's 61 now.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was low, honestly. But then again, like, I don't want to have to depend on Arkansas scoring 20 plus.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that you can pencil Bama in for 35, but if they're up 35-14, like, are they going to be fucking running the expanded playbook to beat them by 5?
I think they put up 30 in the first half.
See, and then take their foot off the gas. That's why I love the first halves with them. That's it. If I'm betting them, it's first half. Or if I'm getting points, like last year, they were like 7-point dogs to Georgia.
That's fair. That's fair. Next up, we got Oklahoma State at Baylor, ranked matchup. Baylor 16th in the nation. Oklahoma State's 9th. Another kind of clash of styles game. Oklahoma State likes to throw the ball a lot. Baylor likes to run the ball a lot. Oklahoma State's passing attack, over 60% of their plays are passes. And Sanders has only thrown 2 turnover-worthy passes this year, and Baylor's secondary haven't really been that great at forcing turnovers, so I think they keep the ball safe here. And I like the speed that they have. Braden Johnson is a fantastic deep threat. He's averaging over 3 yards per route run. And their other guy, I'm kind of forgetting his name, Brennan Peasley, is a great after the catch guy. He's averaging almost 9 yards after the catch. So I think these 2 guys are going to get out in space, cause a lot of havoc for Baylor secondary, which is very inexperienced. Al Walcott is a solid player, and they get Christian Morgan back. He had a good game last week. He was a guy who was fantastic for them last year, but I just think it's the Oklahoma State speed on the outside is just too much for them to overcome. And then on the other side of the ball, it's Baylor's rushing attack versus Oklahoma State's front 7. Baylor's got 3 different guys with 24-plus carries, so they're kind of trying to find their guy if it's not going to be a committee. I think it will be a committee, though, because nobody's really breaking out, and they've all just been kind of average. Oklahoma State's front 7, though, has just been absolutely lights out. This is a group that I absolutely love. Brock Martin and Sione Ossie are 2 of my favorite players in the conference. Sione Ossie doesn't really bring a lot to the table as a pass rusher, but his run defense is there with the best of him. He's an awesome college player. And Brock Martin, the defensive end, is awesome too. And they also got 2 other guys on their defensive end. This is one of the deepest defensive end rooms in the entire nation. You got Brock Martin, you got Tyler Lacey, and you got Colin Oliver, I believe his name is. They all had like 40-plus pressures last year. So against a good Baylor offensive line, I think they'll be able to get a little bit of pressure, and Baylor won't be able to run the ball. Similar to the BYU game, I think Oklahoma State wins this one on the road, 31-17. This is my best bet, Oklahoma State +3.
31-17, damn. And you said they're getting 3.
Yeah.
Okay. So you going money line, or are you taking the points?
Points.
Okay. Even
Road
on the
game.
bet?
Road game. You gotta take
Yeah. And in this conference, like, to me, this game just seemed too high. It was at 58.5. I think it's 57.5 now. And to me, it's just like a 21-13 game, 21-17. I don't know if Baylor can score a lot, but I know that they'll eat clock while they're trying. So it just seems like a game where you count your possessions, and whoever scores, like back-to-back in this game is going to go ahead and kind of keep it at that pace and keep it there.
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't like Baylor. I'm not there yet, but when I trust Baylor, and I think I had them against Iowa State, or who did they play like weeks ago? I have them,
Iowa State.
Yeah, and I don't know. They see, for some reason, I know this team like well betting wise. I just get lucky with them.
Schematically, they're very sound. Like, their coaches do a hell of a job disguising blitzes and doing all these different things, which is scary for most teams. But when you got an experienced quarterback like Spencer Sanders, who keeps the ball out of trouble and has been fairly accurate this year, I think it's kind of a mismatch. I mean, if they were playing a freshman like they were against Iowa State, it would be a lot different. But you got a guy who's seen everything at this point. Spencer Sanders is a 3-year starter, so I think his maturity is going to play a big factor here.
Yeah, I don't love Sanders, but at least you know that he.
No, I don't like love him either, but I think I like his maturity. He's looked solid.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know what you're getting from him.
Yeah, exactly.
He doesn't have like the fucking Graham Merch.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Next, we got Wake Forest against Florida State, another ranked matchup. I think it's 22 versus 23, if I'm not mistaken. Wake is like 1 spot ahead of Florida State.
Yeah.
Wake is going to try to win over the top. That's what they do. They're a play-action team. They love that. I mean, A.T. Perry is one of the best receivers in the nation, but I don't see that happening here. Last week against Clemson, they were missing 2 of their 2 best secondary players, Sheridan Jones and Andrew Makuba, who is, in my opinion, a top 3 safety in the nation. But FSU is right up there in terms of secondary play. Not even more safety play than secondary play. Their corners aren't fantastic, but I love their safeties. Akeem Denton is allowing a pass rating of just 44.9. He's only allowed a 36% completion percentage, and Jamie Robinson is just a playmaker. He's got that swagger about him. He's got that energy, just an absolute dog. So with that being said, I don't think they'll be able to beat him over the top. I think Wake really struggles on offense here. They won't be able to run the ball either because Florida State's front 7 is fantastic. And another thing, I like the maturity of Florida State's linebacking corps. DJ Lundy and Tana Bethune are 2 absolutely fantastic players, and they're both experienced. I don't think they'll be biting on that play action that Wake Forest loves too much, and that's going to really help them in the long run here. And then for FSU's offense, no one's stopping this offense unless you're an elite team.
Especially not Wake.
No, Wake is not stopping them whatsoever. They are so versatile. They have 3 running backs who can all break one off at any time. They got 2 fantastic transfers, and Micah Pittman, who is honestly like a field general. He's really helped out Jordan Travis so far this year. When you just watch Florida State play, you see Micah Pittman pointing out like blitzes and stuff like that. People that Jordan Travis doesn't see that he needs to see in order to go through his progressions. So having that veteran presence on the field is paying absolute dividends for them. And he's a solid player too, solid slot receiver. And Johnny Wilson has been awesome to start the year. I'm glad to see him doing well because he is a freak of nature. So with that being said, I think it's just too much for FSU or too much for Wake to overcome here. I think Florida State scores at will. And like I said, I don't think the play action is going to be there for Wake this game. I got Florida State winning 38-21, and Florida State money line is the other leg of the Oklahoma parlay. So those two are on the card.
I like it. Wake in a terrible spot. Biggest game in your school's history last week. Was double overtime or single?
Yeah, so double overtime, big letdown spot. I mean, big hangover spot here too.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like if you're Wake, you can't even walk away from that game like pissed off. Like I know that you lost, but I mean you hung 40 plus points on my opinion, the best defense in college football.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you can give it to Georgia.
They're missing their two best players,
but still, you know how Clemson is. This isn't fucking Auburn or even Auburn. This isn't some bullshit school where like you're down your two best players and you're fucked. Like Clemson's second stringers are much better than most of the country's players.
Wiggins, the true freshman, was getting absolutely slaughtered out there.
They see.
Or not
do
true
you throw
freshman.
away? Do you throw away what you saw from Clemson?
On defense, yeah, I think they're still elite. I mean, they're missing their two best players. You can only take that with so much. And I mean, Wake's good against inexperienced teams, and this Florida State team is the opposite of inexperienced. These guys have all been multi-year starters, and Clemson, they threw a true freshman out there who got absolutely cooked, and that was where a lot of their yards came from. So I threw it out the window. I think Clemson's still a fantastic team. I mean, I'm not really taking that game too seriously.
20-1 Clemson. 20-1 to win it all. I'm not saying
fantastic
they can.
value. That is fantastic value. They're going to run through this conference so easily.
When they win this weekend, that line is cut in half.
Dude, that's the other game. I'm like,
I love that game. That's my favorite game.
I like NC State, but they have no business being single-digit dogs against Clemson on the road. No business.
Clemson's not in a good spot either.
I think they're in a fine spot. They're getting their two best guys back in their secondary, and the offense has looked fantastic.
The offense is like, what's the dude's name? Well, we're not on that game. Is that next?
The running back? No, well, we're on that game next.
Streeter?
I
think his name is Streeter, the new offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah, okay, right.
They're up in pace. Fuck that. We'll get to Clemson. Wake, what I know in this game is going to happen, and this is how I like to handicap games. Like, take what you know and then add it to like what you kind of see and read. Wake Forest isn't stopping anybody at all. Like, they cannot defend. And to me, like, this is simple. If I'm betting this game, it's Florida State team total over something along that nature. But
yeah, I think the Florida State offense is the most efficient offense in the conference. Like, just all around. I think they're by far the most efficient offense in the conference.
Yeah.
Clemson's up there too. Clemson's also very efficient, and NC State's solid as well. But those three, I think, are just like a step ahead of everyone else just because Wake is so one-dimensional.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with Clemson. Just like sitting back and actually watching what they're doing on it. Like the changes they've made to the offense, everything is working right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, like if I'm betting FSU Wake, I don't want to take the over because I had it last week, Wake Clemson, and it was 55.5 and they scored like 91 points. I've juiced that fucking fruit, whatever the saying is. I've gotten what I needed from that. I'm not going back to the well, but this was a very clear Florida State or Florida State team total.
Fair. So next up, we got that game we were just kind of touching on, NC State Clemson. Like I said, I don't really think NC State should be a single-digit dog on the road in Death Valley. That doesn't really make sense to me because Clemson is simply going to be just outclassing them. DJ's been awesome thus far. 75% adjusted completion, only one turnover-worthy pass. And NC State safeties are not good. They have been very lackluster. I think they're both giving up pass ratings above 100. And DJ's deep ball has been awesome. And it's not like he's throwing one a game and it's a small sample size. No, 25% of his attempts are 20 or more air yards. On those passes, he's a 53% adjusted completion and a 135 passer rating. So he's been elite throwing the deep ball. I think they're going to take advantage of those weak NC State secondary or that weak NC State safeties. Their corners are solid. I'll give them that. Derek Pitts and Shaheem Battle are awesome, but I don't like their safeties. And then with NC State, their linebackers have been good stopping the run, but the defensive line itself has been a little bit questionable. Linebacker Drake Thomas is the guy to know. He's been awesome. Isaiah Moore has been really good too. That's another linebacker. But their defensive tackle, Corey Durden, is allowing, 4 yards past the line of scrimmage is his average tackle, which isn't good for a defensive tackle. And he only has 1 stop on the season. So with that being said, I think they'll be able to run the ball a little bit too. Clemson will be. Like I said, I think Clemson moves the ball. And with Sheridan Jones and Andrew Makuba back, Leary's going to struggle a little bit. His pocket presence isn't all the way there, and he locks onto receivers a little bit, in my opinion. I got Clemson winning this game 31-20.
Yeah, I should have just looked his name up in that 2 minutes or minute you were going. I'm almost positive his name is Streeter, the new offensive coordinator. This offense went from like the middle of the pack in pace. I think he's realizing that to get DJ effective, you have to run a tempo offense. You have to get him on the move.
I think him dropping the 30 pounds was huge for his game.
Yeah, he looks much better, much more
fluid. Yeah, exactly.
But they're up in pace they averaged 69.5 plays a game last year on offense, or off whatever it is, however they calculate it. It's like per minute, whatever. And they're up in like top 10 this year. They're running like 72 plays a game. They're just running fast pace. They're getting the ball out quick. He's way more decisive. Just kind of what you look to see in a quarterback making the second year jump. Like it's the most important year. Second year with your team, like rookie to in the NFL, it's always the biggest jump. And it's showing. Everything they're doing on offense, it's fucking working. They're averaging over 40 points a game. Last year, they averaged 24 points a game. DJ's thrown 1 interception or 1 turnover. I don't even know if it was a pick or a fumble. All year. He has 10 touchdowns. He had 9 touchdowns all last year. 9 passing touchdowns. So whatever Streeter's doing and this offense is doing, it's fucking working. And Dabo is pissed off. I watched the press conference from last week. Hard-fought game, big win, ranked team, on the road. First thing he says, defense fucking sucked. Like my words. His words are probably different. That's all that they've been talking about. So this defense is going to be ready. NC State's not going to have a clear path to offense. They're not going to have anything they can lean on. And Clemson's just going to be able to score. I'm not doubting that this team.
They do have good receivers. I'll give them that. Thayer Thomas has been there for like forever, and he's a great slot receiver, just a mature route runner, zone finder. And then Carter on the outside is also a solid receiver, but they're just outclassed here in my opinion.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to pass the ball like all over Clemson all day.
And it's like if they try to throw deep, I mean, like I said, you got Makuba back, who would have locked up anyone on Wake last week. So I just don't see a clear path for points for NC State.
And this is a Clemson team now that you can't have wasted drives. Last year you could waste drives.
Yeah, because you knew the final score would be like 24-13 or something like that.
Exactly. This is a team now that if you're getting 40 points hung on your head, you can't punt more than twice.
No.
You can't have dead drives. You can't turn the ball over. Clemson's ball hawks. They're coming for the ball. I don't know. This game screams ugly to me. I don't see – the line doesn't make sense. So
no, it makes zero sense. That's the reason why I think it's like I said, if the line was like 11 points, I think Clemson wins this game by like 20 plus, but I don't understand why NC State's so close in this. Like, it makes me think that for some reason NC State's going to pull off an upset. I mean, I hate to say it, as much as they don't deserve it. I mean, the possibility is always there. That's what makes college football so great.
I don't know how I skipped this game somehow. I wish I had the lines in front of me, or the open and everything.
Well, next up, we got Michigan State at Maryland. Michigan State is simply lost. They're lost. Honestly, I'm muffing.
No, I said there goes my phone.
Oh, gotcha. Well, regardless, this game, I actually had my eye on this one during the preseason because I thought Maryland matched up really well against Michigan State. But now since Maryland, well, they still do, yes. But now that Michigan State is not looking too hot and Maryland's looked formidable and the line is 7, it just kind of like scared me off. I thought this would be like a pick 'em, honestly, when it came down.
It opened to pick 'em 1.5.
All right, well, yeah, if you got that number, you're stoked because Maryland's going to win the game.
No, not this week. The look-ahead line. My bad.
Oh, yeah, regardless, I like Maryland. Like, at that line, I would be slamming Maryland personally because their wide receivers are so good and Michigan State secondary just isn't. We saw the way Washington exposed Michigan State secondary. Now they got to go up against a team who probably has a little bit of worse of a quarterback, but in my opinion, way better wide receivers. I mean, this is going to be ugly. I think this has a chance to be very ugly for Michigan State. I mean, they got Jaden Reed back, so the offense can get a little bit of a spark. I think they'll be able to score some points, but I think they go down early, and it's going to be very similar to the Washington game where they go down early, kind of fight back, but they're never really in the game, and Maryland just has control and is able to move the ball constantly. I got Maryland winning this game 38-27.
Yeah, this is another game for me. Look at it. What do I know is going to happen? Maryland's going to move the ball through the air. Michigan State it's not a fluke. It's not a 1-2 week thing. This is going back for the better half of 2.5 years now. you can pass the ball all over them. They're not going to offer any resistance. So to me, I know that Maryland. I hope that Maryland gets off of the fucking running game a little bit here and brings it to Michigan State. Because if you light them up early, this can get ugly fast.
It's got to be, it's got to be like for the first two series of downs, it's got to be like short pass, and then just let that thing fly because they can. They did it last year, and they got to do it now. I mean, they did it against SMU. They did that exact thing. They was like short pass, and then it was Raheem Jarrett running a crossing route and just absolutely toasting everyone because that's what he does. And Talia found him wide open for like a 60-yard touchdown, which flipped the game on its head at that point. I mean, I think at this point, they just got to stick to that same game plan because the rushing attack has been there, but Michigan State's got a solid front seven, and their secondary is just such a huge liability.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, I was backing Michigan State in the first halves especially, but it's already a much different team than it was 4 weeks ago.
100%.
And it's crazy to say, but for me, Maryland or nothing in this game.
100%. Next up, we got Texas A&M at Mississippi State. This one for me was right next to the UCLA Washington game as the toughest game to evaluate because these two teams are very, very equal in my opinion. I think you put them on a neutral field, it's a pick'em game because both these teams are solid. I don't think they're great, but I think they're solid. The big thing for me here was that Texas A&M just lost their lead receiver, Anais Smith. So now Evan Stewart, the 5-star true freshman who weighs 170 pounds, is going to be their wide receiver 1, and he's going to be going up against Emmanuel Forbes, who is more of an NFL guy to me than a college guy. He's 6 foot, 180 pounds, but despite only weighing 180 pounds, he's still very physical for that frame. And he's got really long arms. This guy's arms are extremely long. And in high school, it hasn't been recorded since. He recorded a 44-inch vertical in high school. So he's a freak athlete. Last NFL Combine, the best vertical for a cornerback was 42. I'm not sure who it was, but that's what it was. So Emmanuel Forbes already had a leg up on him coming out.
Woolen?
So I don't even know. Yeah, no, it was him. Yeah.
I remember his combine and pro day were just eye opening.
Yeah,
and I think he's playing big reps somewhere.
Seattle, I think it is.
Seattle, yeah.
And
Kobe.
Yeah, exactly. So they got Emmanuel Forbes lining up against a freshman. Emmanuel Forbes is now a 3-year starter. He's experienced and he's just a freak athlete. And that's the only thing Evan Stewart really has going for him at this point of his career as a young player is his athleticism and ability to just run. And Emmanuel Forbes has that as well, while also recording a 44-inch vertical and having ridiculously long arms. So I think he gets clamped up, and Mississippi State's defense is able to limit the Texas A&M passing attack, which is already basically non-existent. Aiken had a really good game last week, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. That Arkansas front seven is legit. They are extremely good, and it's very impressive. Devin Aiken was able to run for 150 yards on 18 carries against them because I honestly didn't see that coming whatsoever. Mississippi State's front seven is solid. They're not Arkansas, but they have some guys. Jet Johnson, one of their linebackers, is probably going to be vying for SEC second team, maybe third team, something like that. So he's a solid player. And all around, they just got solid guys. So I don't think they'll be able to stop the run entirely, but I think they'll be able to limit him. I don't think Devin Aiken is going to have another game like that this year, especially not against a formidable front seven. So I think it's going to be a low scoring affair. And Mississippi State's going to do what they do. It's just a lot of drag routes, stuff like that, because that's just Mike Leach's offense. But I don't think it's going to really be too successful here. Antonio Johnson's one of my favorite prospects coming out of this year. Freak athlete, can play anywhere on defense, especially in the slot over the middle. And their linebackers have also been very good in coverage. So with Will Rogers targeting the middle of the field mostly and having those guys there, I think it's going to be a tough day for Mississippi State's offense. But at the same time, it's still Mississippi State. They're going to score at some point just because of the scheme they run. So I got Mississippi State winning this game right on the number, 4 points. I got 21-17.
Yeah, this game seemed fishy to me. I looked at it, and Mississippi State's only loss is LSU, who I don't know if the rest of the world is paying attention, but they look pretty fucking good.
Yeah, dude, that's what I was thinking. I was looking at their game the other day, and I was like, they looked bad against Florida State, but since then they've really turned up.
And Florida State's proven to be better than
yes, Florida State's awesome.
Yeah, so to me, I'm looking at Mississippi State they've probably overachieved. Maybe not overachieved because the rest of their games they should have won. But now you give me a team at home playing against A&M, who hasn't played a road game this year. They've been at home for a month. Well, they
played at Jerry World last week.
Yeah, but it's technically an away game, but it's a home game for them.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is their
It's
first
like
time.
Georgia playing at Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, it's their first time going to enemy grounds. And everybody's watched the last 2 weeks. National television, or Texas A&M beats Miami. Then they beat Arkansas, who public loves Arkansas. Or I won't say public, but college football embraces teams like Arkansas that get up and down the field,
Yes.
big quarterbacks, makes throws, runs. So how are they going to hang A&M +4 against a team that most people probably haven't watched this year?
Mhm.
Don't know too much about Mississippi State besides Will Rogers, if they know him.
And he's a system guy too. It's not even like he's good.
Yeah, I thought he was good. He kind of fooled me.
I mean, if you look back at Washington State with Mike Leach, I mean, all their quarterbacks look good.
That's the thing.
From the walk on from just down the street from me, who couldn't even get an offer from any college in Utah, goes up to Washington State and throws for 4,000 yards. And now Luke Falk, he was on the Jets for a while, and Gardner Minshew, who was like a nobody.
I like Gardner though, but either way, like you say,
I'm saying he was like a nobody going into Washington State. Mike Leach made him really good. Like all of his quarterbacks are system guys. At the end of the day.
100%. To me, this game just seemed like Vegas, like putting a number out that they know people are going to jump on with the +4. Just looking at it, it was Mississippi State or nothing for me, and I ended up with nothing. But I might get them somewhere, money line or something. There's a couple spots this week where I don't want to lay points, but I just feel like this team they can't lose the game.
Yeah. So next game is LSU Auburn. Honestly, we really shouldn't be covering this, but we are. It's an SEC matchup, two like bigger programs, I guess. LSU quarterbacks, they're very good. Like that was the unit for me when evaluating LSU that really stuck out to me. Mekhi Garner, the transfer, and Jarek Bernard Converse. These guys are both just physical freaks. Like these guys love to get after it. They love to just instigate things with opposing wide receivers, and against an Auburn receiving corps that doesn't really have a great receiver. Johnson, the slot receiver, has been good, but he's not like elite. And then TJ Finley obviously can't throw a football to save his life. So against those corners, I don't see them doing anything. And over the middle, they got Micah Bakersville, who's a great coverage linebacker. So I don't really see Auburn being able to move the ball through the air, and their rushing attack just hasn't really looked as good as I expected it to, so I can't trust it. Whereas on the other side of the ball for LSU, their rushing attack isn't good. Like their running backs aren't good, but Jaden Daniels can move the ball with his feet, which kind of compensates a little bit. And I'm not really sure what's going on with Keyshawn Butte. Has he played at all? Like I really haven't kept up with that situation whatsoever.
I haven't kept up with it since the Florida State game.
You know what? No, he had a kid last week and didn't play. I don't know about this week, though. He might play, might not. But either way, they still got some ballers out there. And while Auburn's corners aren't terrible, they're a little outclassed here, and just the overall state of the program, I think, is going to catch up to them. I got LSU winning this game 34-20.
Yeah, this to me is like Auburn versus Penn State again. I don't know if LSU is going to score in the 40s like Penn State did, but two teams going separate directions. They couldn't be further from momentum-wise from each other. LSU's defense, they gave up, 27, 30? They gave up 30 tops to Florida State. It was 20-something.
It was 24-23.
24-23. So their defense, to me, like you said, Florida State's offense is real. So why this defense, LSU's defense is getting slept on. And I don't know. Offensively, I feel like they're there. Maybe they're not Penn State 40 points there, but they're going to get into the 30s here. They're not going to give up more than 17 points, 20 points. To me, it would be like betting this number. It tells me that LSU is winning by double digits. Definitely. Am I going to take it? I don't know. Do I want to back LSU? Yes. Do I want to fade Auburn? Yeah. But when you're sitting at that 8.5 number, it's kind of just like it's almost like a do not bet number for me.
Yeah, 9 is a weird number for a football game.
Yeah, is that what it's at now? Even anything between 7 and 10, I'd rather give me 7 or 10, please.
Like 8. If you're telling me LSU's playing Auburn and say I go into a coma and wake up and I have no idea what day it is. Somebody goes, yeah, LSU's playing Auburn today and the spread is 8.5. I'm thinking Auburn is going on the road mid-January to play LSU in basketball.
God. Yeah.
It's not a football number.
It's a dead number. It's a meaningless number almost to a spread. Like teams don't win by 8 or 9 often. 7, 10, 3, 13, 14, 17. Anything above that is kind of just like, you're playing with fire because it's hard to beat teams by 3 touchdowns a lot of the time. But there's numbers that are dead. 8.5 is a dead number to me. It does nothing.
Yeah, definitely. So now that wraps it up. On to the full card. I got Oklahoma +3 as the best bet, Iowa +11, Kentucky +7, Bama -17, and Oklahoma/Florida State money line parlay. How about you, brother?
I have not declared a best bet. I guess I'll do it now. I've got Iowa +11.5, Iowa State money line -150.
Against Kansas, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, I like Kansas. This is going to sound like a hot take. I was looking at their schedule. This team is 4-0. I don't think they qualify for a bowl game. I don't see 2 more wins.
Damn.
I don't see
Wow.
it, They're going to be a
I
dog.
love the hot take because everyone on TikTok is slurping this team up as if they're actually really good. Like,
They
no, they
are.
got a good quarterback, and that's about it. Like the rest of the
And
team
a
is
good coach. And they're
Yeah,
well
yeah,
coached.
yeah.
Their offense is insane. They fucking fly. But
Yeah, it's all because of Jalen Daniels, bro. He's like a mini Tyler Huntley.
yeah. You had to. I'm seeing Jalen Daniels for Heisman. But yeah, like there's not 2 wins on that. They're gonna be a dog every game the rest of the way. Navy Air Force over 37. This is only at this number because it's military schools. Like
You're wild. Do you know the trend about that?
Yeah, it's like 20
Like
and
40. It's like 41-9, and the under is like 41-9.
That's why I'm on the over because
I love it.
everybody
I love it.
knows it. And
Yeah.
the Air Force game should never be in this 30s.
They can score 30 plus on most opponents that they play.
Dude, they have like the 23rd best offense in the country or some shit.
Yeah, they're another like Minnesota-ish team. Obviously, they run a different offense. It's all
they just
and their quarterback is a great runner, and Brad Roberts, the white running back, is an animal too.
Yeah, and like I get the familiarity thing. Like these teams play every year. I don't care. 37 is too low. If this was a regular 2 teams with these exact same numbers, this total's in the 40s. You're getting a discount on the under here or on the over here, and for me, that's enough. Any edge you can get, I'll take it. UNC Virginia Tech over 51. Obviously, this number I don't know what this number's at now because the Storm is it was basically opened 56.5, and then the fucking handicappers that are also meteorologists just bet this number way down because of the storm. Well, look, the storm isn't going to be there. I looked at the weather in Chapel Hill. Everywhere I looked, 11-mile-per-hour winds and partly cloudy. That's a regular fucking day.
Yeah.
11, like UNC can't tackle in the first place. Why do I care if there's a fucking storm? I don't need you to throw the ball. Just give the ball to somebody and they're going to get yards. You can't get tackled. So yeah, that was just a play on numbers because people just fucking assume that they know where a storm is going. I got Wisconsin, UTSA, moneyline parlay. UTSA I'm taking this week because Middle Tennessee with the hangover of a lifetime coming up, I'm hoping. So there's that. Baylor, OK State under. Huh?
Who's Wisconsin got?
Wisconsin is laying 7 to who was it?
Oh, is it? No, it's not Indiana, is it? No,
it's
probably like Illinois.
That's exactly who it is. Illinois. Yeah, Illinois. Laying 7. Just give me the money line. I'm not watching this game. I won't check anything besides my account. I just have this is just a game where Wisconsin wins.
Game.
Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, that's what I do. I have no morals. And then Baylor, OK State under 56.5, and then Washington -2.5. And for the best bet, I'll fucking do it. Give me the fucking Air Force to it. Well, I guess I'll take points from either team, but I'm trusting Air Force to get into the 30s here and feel bad for their brothers in arms and let them score 14.
Fair. Love it. So like I said, I got Oklahoma State +3, Iowa +11, Kentucky +7, Bama -17, Oklahoma, Florida State moneyline parlay with Oklahoma State +3 being the best bet. We went 7-1 last week. I'm on kind of a heater. I haven't lost a best bet. Actually, I just jinxed it. Why did I do that?
I'll say it. You haven't lost since week 1, and you've had like 1 loss on every week. That's it. Out of like 5 plays.
Last week there was none. I had the immaculate weekend. I didn't miss in football. I didn't miss in football.
You're a legend.
No NFL loss, no college loss.
Yeah, see, that's why it pays to listen to the fucking show. So even if you just click it, skip to the end, and get Dante's plays, I don't blame you. I would do the same thing if I was watching. So there's that.
Yeah,
but I did have a weekend though. I think I went 3, 4.
Yeah, no, you said it was your most confident card and you won. So
love it.
Building.
Oh, this is also my most confident card. I'm speaking it into existence.
Damn. Yeah, I don't love this card. Oklahoma State +3 is my biggest bet, but even that, like compare it to like Maryland and Oregon State last week. Like last week, I loved the card. Like I had 2 max bets, which is rare, and they both won despite the quarterback throwing 7 total interceptions, and both still covered.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you got it. There's the plays. Next Thursday, back regular time, 7:30, God willing. Had to push it back for fucking birthday and hurricane shit, but all good.
Yes,
Dante,
sir.
any last words, brother?
No, man, let's just keep building. We're having a good year. Let's keep it flowing.
Hey, let's do it. At the very least, I need you to win all your plays because I will be tailing them.
Love it. Appreciate
All right.
it.
Everybody watching, good looks. Appreciate it. And we'll be back next week.
Yes, sir.